Fuckers. Hey. So it's been quite a month, hasn't it? Over in the Patreon private stream, patreon.com/traumatized motherfuckers, this April we've been discussing the wildfire that I just lived through at the end of March. Literally, the state park that I was living in, camp hosting in for about 5 months at that point, set ablaze. Thousands of acres unintentionally cleared of rubble. Helicopters, yellow skies, burnt trees, a dazzling view, and evacuations galore. Uh, Was I almost made homeless? Did I almost lose it all? I don't know. Maybe. But I'm here now. My home, Merv is his name, exists. My dog is wholly unaffected, so I'm good. I even reposted that boundaries episode to this very public stream within days of surviving, despite a rapid displacement and not having working internet here. So, hey, my dedication to this crowd of fuckers is more than a smoke show. Dun Sorry. And from this, hopefully, once in a lifetime event, we've been speaking about the interesting, complex trauma recovery developments that ran concurrent to that fire, as well as those that have followed that experience. Because it turns out sometimes a disaster closing in around you is exactly what you need to reveal the truths of your least balanced, most abuse accepting relationships, and to finally decide to set the boundaries that you have been too reluctant, too uncertain to enact up until that point. Leaving me to ask, what do your relationships feel like? How do they impact your nervous system? What information aren't you fully accepting or integrating about the effects of dem people on this overall biological and psychological experience of suffering? Because you might find out, if your life is anything like mine, that in the midst of being the sole human remaining in a large, double campgrounded, normally booked to capacity state park, making life-defining decisions, literally, as fires close in on the RV that you call home, that the people society says you should be able to count on are more stress-inducing on your system than the actual physical threat that is rushing towards you in 30-mile-per-hour gusts of wind. Oh, while most people want to hear from their mother during a disaster, I'm finding that I'm more activated by that than the actual destruction. Hmm. Adrenaline sure has a way of cutting through all of that discombobulation and making everything about your emotional abuse pretty crispy clear. So, this month, after relaying this adventure, and actually also the one before it, um, have you ever had a missing persons case literally 8 campsites away in your neck of the woods? And then a wildfire breaks out at the same place within 3 weeks? I have lots to say. Anyways, after discussing all of that, which had been previously redacted, we dove into discussing 7 communication patterns that are not at all connective or care transmitting, such as the old ask to self affirm and ask and abandon trends that are so common with digital engagements. The ask to self affirm is all about making sure the other party is just on the line. They're still available for one own comfort, not for real connection with them. The ask and abandon is about putting your hand out there for another person and then, psych, pulling it back so they fall backwards into a pit of their own misery. Plus, 5 more dysfunctional interaction patterns that don't lend themselves to forming mutually beneficial communities or shared states of immunity, as I researched as the real meaning of the term. Then, in response to a few people really not absorbing any of what I just said, I may have gone off the rails a little, following their insistence on discussing the innumerable potential options for society collapsing around us, and we wound up discussing the need for cutting off extraneous, panic inducing information and instead connecting with thine own guts for wisdom, self direction, and a sense of calm. It's a message I delivered through, hopefully, a helpful dog walking metaphor that assists me on a daily basis to not lose my wits or wisest self captaining ability. Then, piggybacking on those posts, we spoke about practical polyvagal theory. What you really need to know in order to apply any of this crucial nervous system information, rather than obnoxiously intellectualizing about it, as is all too common in my experience. As a follow up, we made room for 47 ways to help balance your nerves with a focus on practices besides breathing and yoga. Tips that can truly be put into action even when your bank account and functionality might be rather low. Even when meditation hasn't done the fucking trick so far, and it's been 40 years. Hey, I even bought a new microphone to do it, because, I don't know, needed another thing to adapt to on the fly. So we did it. And finally, I think, I don't know, I might be forgetting something. This month has been the longest 3 years of my life. Finally, we're about to return to elaborating on the need for boundaries, how they are actually difficult, how to communicate them safely, for how long, to what extent, and more importantly, perhaps, how they interact with our prior conversation around the dysregulated autonomic state in your nervous system and overwhelm, just to try to tie the month up with a bow. So, from all of this that we have covered in April, what can I share concisely here with you motherfuckers? You know what? I'm going to give you the most important part of the polyvagal episodes, the 47 tips that you can try to implement right now to rebalance your nervous system. Here it is. I hope that you enjoy it and find it applicable. Do come hang out in the Patreon private club if you care to hear about the overlap between CPTSD and natural disaster PTSD, which was just a strangely intertwined series of events for me. And for the woo lovers out there, I know you are out there, I also threw out some reports of wild synchronicities and seeming predilections that ran through both of those campground adventures. They're pretty neat and also completely unbelievable, even if you're into that sort of thing, even if you are me and you experience them yourself. And fuckers, with that, assuming the earth doesn't crack open to engulf me before the end of next month. Holy shit, y'all. Hail yourself. Hail your boundaries. Hail your ability to wisely steward your nervous system and yourself through noticing your neuroceptions and vagal state and making the best decisions from there. Fuck yeah to your capacity to act as the real authority of your own life, even if there are uniforms all around masquerading as such. Post-fire financial recoup support, highly appreciated. Check episode notes if you're in a position to care or to share. Please enjoy this episode and please work every day in our current world to regulate that nervous system so you can respond, not just react, if things heat up. Da-dun! Again, I'm, I'm sorry. Cheers, fuckers. I'm alive. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Greetings, friends and fuckers. And let's dive in. Last time, we talked about how it's our job to gently leash and guide our brains during difficult times so that we aren't becoming overloaded in unconscious neuroceptions, dysregulated in the nervous system, detached or deeply volatile in the emotional responses, thus reactive in behavior, and unwise in our storytelling that can accidentally define lifetimes. We cut out a lot of the, I find, unnecessary details of polyvagal theory and instead aimed at understanding how to use it in line with things we've already picked up, even in unquestionably overstimulating times. This brings us to another one of the reasons that we've not discussed this previously explicitly until right now. Most of the tips, tricks, and instructions for changing your vagal activation come down to the words breathing exercises, stretching, yoga, touching grass and dirt, sleeping fitfully, co-regulating with safe people. So, most of the suggestions are general advice for humans. Things we know we optimally should be doing. Basic recommendations for being alive. And also, they are not necessarily realistic or within reach, considering the larger scope of things. One of the largest complaints against polyvagal, and the major reason we've not talked about it, besides how annoying I find the people who often do, is that it's reductive. It tells us to do things that help if we have resources to access other resources. If we're able to apply these techniques often and deeply enough versus all of the challenges of life and a potentially traumatized one. If these tips and tricks and behavioral modifications are able to fully penetrate our brains and bodies, getting past the neuroception filter to override all of the much louder signals that are consciously streaming through us in order to actually make an impact onto our systems. All of this is not necessarily possible in the complex trauma crowd, considering the full plight of the individual within it. Breathing exercises are difficult to stick with if you're in a state of sympathetic activation or your world doesn't give you time to do it. We're in a dysregulated state for a reason, or more likely, many of them. And those reasons for being upset also act as barriers to doing the work to becoming re regulated and less upset. Like not having the finances, a survival threat that can work its way into your nervous system and live there forever in order to access the care that could help deal with the stress of having that forever lingering survival threat. Right? This work, it isn't insta magic the way that polyvagal proselytizers suggest, in my experience, anyways. And also, if combined with the psychological detective work that we described last time, while putting in the behavioral change effort we're going to describe this time, it will scoot you closer and closer towards long-term recovery and trust in your own nervous system and the rest of you. So that being said, here is a list of 46 things that you can do to help yourself with vagus nerve and nervous system re-regulation. Yeah, I know. You're not wrong. The article said 47 things you can do, but there are not. Still, I chose this source because some of them, not all, are suggestions that felt more applicable and practical to work into difficult days. Some are different recommendations than breathing and yoga, though many of them are not different. This is kind of the best I found that the internet had to offer. All right, 47 ways to heal your nervous system. We will not talk through the 46 of them in full detail. I'm going to provide the link to the article and you can check it out yourself for the full blurbs if anything catches your ear and seems workable in your life. And let's start at number 1. Deep, uninterrupted sleep. Parentheses, 7 to 9 hours. Yeah. See what I mean? Of course, everything would be better if we could sleep. It's one of the big PTSD problems. Worth sharing, though, they do say we can improve our sleep by exposing our eyes to the sun in the morning, minimizing exposure to light after sunset, and avoid eating 2 to 3 hours before sleep. Those are actionable steps. Try them consistently. See what happens. Number 2, equally, yeah, we know, deep breathing. Here's the helpful part. It's important to breathe through the nose and notice you are doing it. Try inhaling through your nose while expanding your abdomen and chest. Exhale completely through the mouth and extend the out-breath. Hold yourself empty. Try to concentrate only on the flow of air coming through your nose, lungs, and belly, and coming back out through your mouth. Notice that it's cold coming in and hot when it is released. Put your hand on your chest, I would say also, and belly, to feel them expand, one and then the other. It also helps to stay with the behavior more easily by keeping your fingers away from your phone when you set them on your core. A lot of these were my words. Number 3, moderate movement. Jogging, dancing, walking. Yeah. Again, we've heard force yourself to get into your body by moving around and working out some of the jimmies. Number 4, co-regulation with a loved one in a secure relationship. Right, right. The complex trauma problems they're entering with greater and greater clarity, right? However, they say, when we connect to a loved one who is in a regulated state through touch, breath, or verbal mirroring, we can regulate our nervous systems simultaneously. Great. Problem being, we do need a trusted loved one and one who isn't going to deregulate us. Number 5, yoga, tai chi, qigong. Awesome. Do these things. Can't recommend highly enough. Not accessible for everyone or every mindset, I would say. Moving on. Number 6. This one is accessible to everybody. We're starting to get useful. Chanting and singing. Vocal stimulation is one of the quickest ways to transition from fight or flight to rest and digest. Singing can also be an effective method for emotional expressing. Please see the Big Emotions episode. Number 7, walking barefoot on beach, grass, in nature. Yeah, this one, widely spread. Don't know that the science is widely verified. They do say when your feet touch the earth, they receive electrons that promote relaxation. It allows you to connect with the earth's surface through your feet, which helps to ground your nervous system. All right. This one does help a lot of folks. Give it a try. Number 8, massage. Number 9, smells. Scents, especially ones that are naturey or from happy points in the life, can reduce stress markers in the brain. Number 10, resting and relaxation without screen time or obligations. Yeah, it's been discussed. Let's call it neuroceptual, distracting, nervous system up dialing that we don't notice we're pumping into our brains, and then rest and real relaxation become impossible if we are still filling our lives with screen times and promises to others. And let's try to cut that down. 11, proprioceptive stimulation. This one is cool. Proprioception is the body's ability to locate its position in space as the body moves. It can be stimulated with weight bearing, such as push ups or crawling, resistance activities, pushing, pulling, heavy lifting, cardiovascular, such as running or jumping, oral stimulation, such as chewing, and deep pressure, hugs. So, knowing where we are in space time in our meat is helpful to the nervous system. We can add to this list weighted blankets and laying down back flat to the floor. Number 12, cold plunges. Okay. Overstimulate your nervous system so that it has something to compare normal life to. Some people really love it. Alternatively, I would suggest that experiencing cold weather has become a useful embodiment and nervous system regulation practice in my world. 13, meditation. 14, tech-free time. Think we covered it already. They do want to point out that it's overstimulating to be on your phone, and also the blue screen affects our sleeping. 15, sunshine. Sunlight helps build vitamin D, which helps a dysregulated nervous system. Sunlight also increases serotonin, which is responsible for mood. I would also argue that being outdoors in sunshine sort of forces a body to locate itself in space to assist with the proprioception. 16, nature or forest bathing. Yeah, we know. Nature has its own calming effects on our minds. It's scientifically proven. It can help to heart rate variability inflammation, better sleep, cortisol regulation, and autonomic nervous system balance, as well as regulating stress. Also, it's shown that simply hearing the sounds, even if we're not concentrating on them, subconsciously helps us relax. So, if we're discussing sub-threshold consciousness neuroception, figure that you can pump nature sounds into your home also, which will calm your system without doing any extra work. 17. Journal to release past trauma. Okay. Um, this one won't exactly save our nervous systems in a pinch, but I do agree that they say writing down your stressful thoughts, past trauma, or complaints is a great way to clear your mind. This practice is often called mind dumping. It helps reset thoughts. I would say, yep, use your lists to empty your brain if unnecessary material is contributing to your perceptual problems. 18. Epsom salt baths. They say that they contain magnesium, which helps to elevate serotonin, and also that it helps to relax muscles and nerves. 19. Somatic experiencing. Okay, this is a more long-term thing to try, but of course it's important in trauma recovery. Somatic experiencing is a body-orienting technique designed to discharge stress that gets stuck in the body. This can be done through awareness exercises, gentle touch, and specific movement. They recommend seeking an educated practitioner who will help you to feel safe and learn to self-regulate. 20. Vagus nerve soothing exercises. And in particular, they just relist one we've already fucking talked about. Chant, laugh, hum, sing mantras, whatever you feel like doing to activate your vocal cords, to activate the vagus nerve, to support your nervous system. 21. Hypnotherapy. 22. Internal family systems. Okay. Uh, I just erased their entire blurb and instead want to say, again, exiles, your pained parts, and distractors, your disassociative parts, are dorsal, down low nervous system states. Managers, your protective parts, and sometimes exiles, are sympathetic, simply reactive and overloaded conditions. If you can identify where your nervous system is at, you can probably identify which role or mindset you might be stuck in. Then you can use the IFS episodes to help yourself from there by delivering the need fulfillments that the part you're embodying is lacking in order to reassure yourself of your safety. 23. Devices for touch and vibration therapy. I don't actually know what they're referring to, but they point out that some of these machines, such as the Apollo, provide touch therapy that calms your nervous system by sending silent, soothing vibrations to it. Check that out. 24. Here's one that's far more applicable. Increasing your heart rate variability. So it's good when your heart beats faster and slower. This tells the nervous system that you aren't stuck in one mode of existing, like forever running from prey or perpetually hibernating from danger. I've noticed that high or moderate intensity interval training really helps a lot with nervous system regulation. The difference is obvious anytime I get back into like trail jogging. I think I'm dying. I think I'm dying. Oh, look, we're coming back down and everything is fine. Try it. 25. Neurofeedback. Okay, not super practical. 26. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Same. Uh, Great if you have the resources, but not an everyday practice and not a magic fix. 27. Omega 3s. Omega 3 fatty acids are essential for your nervous system. Eat fish and seafood, especially cold water, fat fish, nuts and seeds, such as flaxseed, chia seeds, and walnuts, and plant oils, flaxseed oil, soybean oil, or take a supplement. 28. Magnesium. If you're deficient in magnesium, it may inhibit neurotransmitters. You may end up with frequent headaches, lack of energy, sleep problems, leg cramps, higher irritability level, or trembling eyes and hands. They recommend eating buckwheat groats, almonds, oatmeal, pumpkin seeds, chickpeas, or regular peas, and also supplementation. 29. GABA. It's the brain's inhibitory neurotransmitter, which helps with a relaxed mood and cognitive functioning. It can be found in fermented foods such as yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, pickled cucumbers or beets, or beetroot sourdough. 30. The vitamins. They can affect the nervous system if depleted, causing pins and needles or numbness. The best sources of vitamin Bs are nuts and seeds, beans, eggs, dairy products, poultry, bananas, peaches, and spinach. 31. L-theanine. It's an amino acid naturally occurring in tea leaves that promotes relaxation and increases cognitive function. 32. St. John's wort. It's best known for its ability to relieve symptoms of anxiety and depression. It's also a brain adaptogen and tonic for the nervous system. Those are some non-scientific sounding words. P.S. I will add that you can get it for about $7 at Walmart, and you can also create a little time, space, self-orienting ritual consuming it, which can really help the nervous system. 33. Electrolytes. You need sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium for your nerves to work. Notice they didn't say glucose suspended in water. Aim for something like coconut water rather than Gatorade as an excellent source of electrolytes. And do that for this next reason. 34. Blood sugar balance. Right. Blood sugar spikes are followed by fatigue, anxiety, and depressive feelings. To prevent them, you can try a low carb and a low sugar diet, maintaining a healthy weight, a long-term goal, staying hydrated and active, short-term goals you can do right now. And questionably, their next suggestion. 35. Fasting. Mm, uh, all right. They say this type of stress stimulates the body to adapt and become stronger. Some studies have shown that fasting can significantly activate your parasympathetic nervous system and calm your sympathetic one. I have problems with this suggestion. I think the science on fasting is kind of turning around more recently. And as a prior daily faster, I have some negative reflections experientially that I can share another time. I think the major point of it is to ensure we're making conscious food decisions, especially around 36. High quality nutrition. Avoid processed food and eat lots of fermented ones. We know. But I will say that what isn't often discussed is that eating well indirectly helps you with your entire nervous system and being because it allows you to be in the body if you're not uncomfortable from all the shit that you're eating. If you're gassy, bloaty, having digestive issues, allergic or sensitive to your foods, it's not comfortable. It's another reason not to do all the things we're discussing here because you are not present in your protein. 37. Caffeine and yerba mate. I disagree with this point entirely. In my experience, no, caffeine really is only ever dysregulating. But do as you will. Moving on. 38. Limit alcohol consumption. Alcohol impairs the nervous system by preventing brain receptors from communicating. It's a depressant, a dorsal down low nervous system activator. And long term, it may cause long term damage to your nerves. 39. Books and resources. Don't know that many of us have great luck with reading while we're nervous system imbalanced, but of course, these are helpful books. The Body Keeps the Score, Waking the Tiger, and Healing Developmental Trauma. 40. Adaptogens. They're talking ashwagandha, rotulio, and ginseng. Let me restate that middle one. Rhodiola. Rhodiola. That's it. So ashwagandha is a medicinal herb that can relieve anxiety and stress. It may be helpful with insomnia and anxiety treatments. Rhodiola may help regulate emotions, mood, and anxiety. Ginseng may affect the user by treating depression, anxiety, and chronic fatigue syndrome. 41. They recommend trying oat straw as a hug for your nervous system. It helps restore a dysregulated system and is high in B vitamins, therefore can aid in exhaustion, depression, anxiety, poor concentration, and memory. 42. Chamomile, green tea, and matcha. 44. For these next few, I'm actually switching the order from least to most relevant. So we just jumped into what they listed as 44, which for us is actually number 43 on our list. Acupuncture. Okay. Super effective, not super accessible, but try it if you can. Next one. They say, heal your attachment style. Okay, no big deal. Just heal your attachment style, especially when your nervous system is dysregulated. Lol. They tell us if our needs were inconsistently met or we were neglected, we develop an insecure attachment style. If our father abandoned us, we may be constantly anxious, believing our partner will do the same. And then they don't say it, so I will. But that's stressful on the nervous system, putting us in a state of hyper or hypovigilance, depending on how we learned we can or cannot control the situation. I would also say connect the state of your nervous system to the story you're telling yourself in the relationship. This will help you to understand your attachment style and walk yourself back from your dysregulating narratives about the role of people in your life. I.e., if you're super cranked up in a sympathetic state, you probably have an anxious attachment style. If you easily fall into don't care dorsal mode, perhaps avoidant. Next point. Build healthy relationships. Mhm. They say healthy relationships where we can show our true selves are one of the most healing practices. They are shown to impact healing, stress reduction, and overall health. Having a true friend that we can talk to when life gets difficult is priceless and helps us regulate our emotions. Right. And we do need community. And also, this is long term work intertwined with healing your attachment style and your overarching trauma. So it's not the most easily moving target, especially in raucous times. To make this one more accessible, let's say that if you do have relationships you can count on, even one, connect and deepen your connection with those people. That will help you self regulate. And lastly, to do that, to do, I believe, any of the work that we've described already, final point, number 46, setting boundaries. By setting boundaries, you protect yourself and take care of your needs. You have some space to do the psychological and physical tasks that we've been discussing. They are also crucial for building healthy relationships with other people. If your boundaries are being constantly crossed, you will have less energy than usual and probably feel overwhelmed. You may have difficulty regulating emotions. Therefore, it is vital to manage it well by setting boundaries. And, my words, following through with them. Do you know how much neuroception that isn't necessary for your already overstimulated brain is coming from unbounded relationships in your life? I would say a great deal of it. You will be shocked to find out how relieved your nervous system is when you test your locus of control with other people. When you tell them, this is how I will be responsive, and this is when I will not be. And finding the immediate room, the relief of following that very simple plan that you determined for yourself. If they don't honor your boundaries, then you honor yourself and prove your locus of control to yourself by thickening the boundary, by creating more room without needing their input for you to exist within. Whoa, the space to breathe, to stretch, to control the neuroceptions that are flowing into your brain 24/7. It will soothe your system and make about 45 other behaviors more accessible now that you can think, feel, and behave more clearly, which exponentially compound that system rebalancing effort to again create a vivid cycle of self sustainment. And this makes me tag an extra point onto this incomplete list. Here's the one that they must have just forgotten. Number 47 out of the stated 47. Build self trust. Yeah, it's a long term one, but you can make great bounds pretty quickly. Fuckers, the greatest way to regulate your nervous system is to regulate your life in line with what you need. Identify what those needs are, and then set boundaries and behaviors necessary to fulfill them, just one at a time. It's this relationship to your own self where you deliver what you acknowledge is missing that creates self esteem, that creates a realistic understanding of you versus challenges, and creates a sense of security from within, even when shit gets wild without. AKA, if you heard anything on this list that sounds like it might be helpful, it might be what you need throughout your nervous system. It would be highly beneficial to give that thing to yourself, to try it, to show you that you are listening, that you care, and that no matter what, you have your own back. You're willing to try for you. You are in charge of your system, your brain, your nerve endings, and some portion of what happens to you in this lifetime. Finding that realistic sense of self control, that is system soothing and attachment style healing and trauma recovering. And in these modern times, helpful also for daily psychosis managing. And with that, we've covered vagal nerve theory. Enough. Uh, We've talked about, I think, what really matters and how to bring it into material reality. As we said, the concept behind polyvagal theory, described by Deb Dana, is surprisingly similar to nonviolent communication, leading us away from the trance-like lure of our automatic emotions, behaviors, and stories. Instead, encouraging us to understand what's happening in our biology and psychology so we can recalibrate rather than running full speed in harmful directions. If we continue to follow these dysregulated nervous system instructions, we simply carry out unwise, unsupervised behaviors that run us deeper into the ground. And often we negatively affect the conditions all around us, including our social connections, drowning them in neuroceptive details they did not fucking ask for, which throws off their system. So we're all co regulating in the wrong direction together. While that is instinctually kind of comforting, to be upset in a crowd validates our emotions rather than being alone with them. Let us, please, all be cautious of doing this. All we need to do is to notice what our nervous system is doing below our emotions. Is it cranked up or dialed down? Either way, we can then deduce solutions from noticing what we're consciously, non neutrally observing and reflecting on those perceptions to reframe or dispute them. Identify if we're dorsal, down low, sympathetic, simply reactive, or ventral, very well. And then it behooves us to take a few steps back and ask, what is my system unconsciously perceiving that might be contributing to this autonomic state? Then try to cut out the extra or extra upsetting stimulation. Even if it hasn't been consciously driving you mad, recognize that it's subconsciously dragging you to the bottom of a lake or maybe the top of a mountain. And then refer to this list of 46, turned 47, ways to help yourself. I recommend you choose 3 and try them today. And then try them again if they seem to work at all tomorrow. Keep what gives you positive results, drop what doesn't, and expand outwards through the list from there. Testing your body versus reality to see what has any legs and finding out what you need. And setting boundaries as necessary so any of those needs are fulfillable from your own applicable, simple tips and tricks to regulate your nervous system behaviors. Boom. practical polyvagal without all the intellectualized, unnecessary details. For even more help, I may have provided a link to the full book, Polyvagal Exercises for Safety and Connection, 50 Client-Centered Practices. Or you might search YouTube and find 10,000 video support options on vagal regulation. The point is, as always, to figure out what really works for you. And then to look below your loudest, most obvious, most convincing thoughts, behaviors, and feelings to find the state of your nervous system. Notice how unconscious stimulation events are affecting you. Implement your biology realigning behaviors and get regulating. So you aren't trapped on intense escape island, I can't, or utter stress planet, I must. But instead, choose the third option where your narratives say, I feel, I understand, I decide, and I can. Then get practically practicing. You got this, fuckers. You can do it. Hail yourself. Hail your nervous system. And cheers, motherfuckers. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.